Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session
with your host, Michael Rearden.
One of the interesting things that happen when it comes to mindset coaching and helping people with all aspects of their life is we typically get back all the way down, dig down deep into the root. Of course, we look at the root problem. So if you're having a career problem, we are going to look at the aspects of your career, right? All the nuances of it, right? The pros, the cons, what got you to this place. We might even go as far back to look at tell me about your childhood. What did you want to be growing up? For example, when I was younger, I wanted to be a lawyer. And it wasn't so much of I wanted to protect people and I wanted to go into the courtroom. I just wanted to make money. Literally, that was in my mind. I was like, I just want to make some money because we grew up poor. So I'm thinking I want to have a career that's going to give me an abundance of money. So that's what I did. And as you're going around probably fifth grade, I think I had an inkling to be a teacher. I said, do I want to be a teacher? But teachers don't make any money. So I kind of shunned that idea. I said, I'm not going to be a teacher. And that's when I was going to say, well, I could do business, finance, work in accounting, work for businesses along those lines, helping them with the books and stuff. Easy, right? Because I was really good at math. So I said, that's something I don't mind doing. And as I did it, I didn't like it. I had to get down to the root. I had to figure out what did I want. And then I had to figure out what I truly wanted because initially I wanted the money. But then I realized it wasn't about the money. It was something greater that I desired. And in our life, that's going to be us. We have something greater than what we initially go after each and every day. Most of us, we have an inkling. We have this idea that we want to go for something good in our life, right? We say we want a good job. We want a good relationship. We want a good life. But are you doing those things necessary to get there? When people come into my office or they call me, they need some help, they need some life advice. You know what we do most of the time? We look at, tell me about your overall well-being. Tell me, are you being healthy? And it's not so much of how you look aesthetically, it's how you feel. Because you can be, again, you could be obese, you could be overweight, and you could feel amazing because not everyone needs to have a six-pack ab and go to the gym and run all the time and things like. Sometimes people are just perfectly content with the lifestyle that they're living. I'll tell you a story. There was a man for when we went to Tai Chi for the first time. It was my brother, my sister, and myself. We all went to Tai Chi. And it was so funny because I was doing the position wrong or something for the flow of energy. The instructor, it was two of them. It was an older gentleman and then it was a lady. And the lady kept saying, wrist down, wrist down. She was Chinese or something, I guess. And she got mad at me. She's like, wrist down, wrist down. And I had to put my wrist down. And I was like, oh man, I'm not doing too hot right now. And it was just interesting. Because the other teacher, because she was super thin, right? And the other teacher, he was a heavy set guy. And I remember him telling a story of how he did Tai Chi for 2 or 3 hours by a tree one time in the, outside or something, right? And I'm thinking in my head, if you could do Tai Chi for 2 or 3 hours, you would be in shape. And again, this is my younger self speaking. I was probably 22, maybe around there. So very young still. The concept of health and fitness for me at the time was you have to have 6-pack abs minimum, and you have to be able to bench this much, and you have to be able to squat this much. It wasn't so much of, hey, if you don't look the part, then you probably aren't the part. It was more of the aspect of you're not being healthy because I'm seeing you not be healthy. It was my view on health that I was instilling onto him versus him instilling his own view of health onto himself. So that started percolating in my mind. And I said, you know what? I have to write an article about this. But it wasn't so much of helping people get into shape. It's how the mind can be in shape And the body can also be that physical component that helps the mind happen. There is a physical connection to the body and the mind. And we have this whole article that's speaking on it. And it's such a wonderful read. And when I tell people to, check out things, and I encourage people to look at the article, I mean, even if you peruse it for a minute, it's still going to be a smooth read. Getting into this article, we talk about the link between physical and mental training, where going back to my story, that guy who did Tai Chi, who was one of the teachers, I might have not have viewed him as being physically trained, like, hey, you're really good. Like, I want you to train me in the gym. But the physical aspect of him doing this movement and this posture helped him with his mental. Because on the outside, it's not so much that matters, it's what you have on the inside. Think of it as if you are a police officer, right? Most police officers that are overweight, they still get the job done somehow, right? Even if they're older, they still get the job done. Why? Because they have that fight, they have that desire within them to say, hey, I want to get home to my family. I want to do this. And most people, they just don't have that desire. We do things with a half heart, and then we wonder why we don't have the life that we want. It's because we're not in it. We're not fully committed. So there is a science behind this when we talk about the link between physical and mental training. And one of the things I do is when, people start working with mindset, if they need to or if they want to, I say, go for a walk or something, go to the park. Let me know how you feel after. And it's the littlest things like that that helps me say, hey, you know what? If I'm trying to make some changes in another person, let them experiment with things so they can figure out if that thing is good for them. Because I can't say going to the gym 5 days out of the week is going to be your physical training and it's going to help your mental. It does, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to like it. So you might like walking, you might like dancing or yoga or things along those lines. Guess what? It doesn't matter what you do as long as you do it. So the science behind the connection, where we look at the physical mental training and how it's like intertwined, and the psychology behind it. There are mechanisms that they work together. So number one, we have the neurotransmitter. So exercise increases the production of neurotransmitters, serotonin and dopamine. Then we can look at physical activity stimulates growth of new neurons. Exercise also reduces the levels of stress that we have, such as cortisol. And then, of course, regular physical activity can improve sleep patterns. I remember when I was in elementary school, where I think at the time my bed was broken. And we had bunk beds because I shared a room with my brother. We would jump off the bunk bed and we would jump onto my bed, which was on the bottom. And we eventually broke the bed frame. So the mattress was just a little thin piece of cotton, it seemed like, because that's what it was. Eventually, like, it started sagging in to the broken bed frame. So it was always a divot. So I'm always sleeping like at an angle. So if you think of the letter V, my back was literally like that into the hole. So I had that type of upbringing for many years. And it was because my mom was a single mom per se at the time. My dad was doing his own thing, but he wasn't really in the picture. With that being said, we go back to the story now where some days I wouldn't even sleep on the bed because my back would hurt the next day. So I would sleep on the floor. We had carpet in the room. So it was actually more comfortable sometimes than the bed because I didn't want to sleep on the bed. And sometimes I would put a bunch of blankets in the divot to kind of try to make it as level as possible. And it worked sometimes it didn't. But I didn't get good sleep sometimes. And when I went to, go to basketball training and things along those lines, you will come home exhausted. And I mean, I'm drenched in sweat. Is interesting because I had the best sleep of my life probably after those trainings because I will run and I'll be tired and I'm exhausted. And I know some people think like if I did all this running and all this exercise, I'll be wired. Versus me, on the other hand, if I'm doing things and I know it's still bedtime, I'm going to sleep. Like I can drink a cup of coffee before sleep and I am going to bed. I'm going to be knocked out. It does not matter. I felt the best and it improved my sleep crazy. Of course, it might not be for you because I know there's people who, if they work out at night, they're wired. You have to figure out what works for you, right? This is what I talked about in the beginning. It might work for you, it might not. There is an aspect to this in mental training, and it's so important that we look at it. Mental training enhances the physical performance. How is that possible? Well, it's going to help with our focus and our concentration. It's going to help with our stress management, and it's also going to help with pain tolerance. And by pain tolerance, I'm not only talking about physical pain. I'm also talking about that mental pain that we go through all the time. The anxiety, the stress, right? The pain. You know, one of the things that happen sometimes in your life and careers is that you will do things according to other people's standards because you don't want to have a confrontation with them. Sometimes when I'm speaking to people, because I have Mindset OD also, and Mindset OD is, again, the spicier version of coaching in session. It's very blunt, it's very offensive, and the conversations typically can be a bit raunchy, where I'm looking at a person not so much to help lift them up, but I'm helping them see the holes in their conversation and their argument. And most of the time, what tends to happen with these individuals is I'm speaking on one topic. So I might be talking about being in shape, right? I might be talking about losing weight or beauty standards or whatever it be. And then all of a sudden, they come up with a new concept and a new idea that they want to instill into the conversation. I'm like, well, if you want to have a different conversation, that's fine. But I'm not leaving the conversation that I began. This is the conversation that you wanted to walk in. I'm not going to change my conversation because you walked in the door. So, yes, you can give me your 2 cents, but at the same time, I'm not going to answer your questions. I'm not going to go along with what you want to process. I'm going to tell you the factual stuff and this and all the statistics. If you don't like it, because again, you could be delusional, you can have your own opinions. There is nothing wrong with that either. You get to live your life how you want to live. But at the same time, I'm hammering these people left and right, day in and day out. They can say whatever they want about me because sometimes they say very mean things. And I'm like, man, like, how can you even like be like a human? Like you're saying these mean things to people. But then at the same time, I guess I can say mean things to people too. But it's not so much that I'm doing it deliberately. It's that I'm doing it to say, this is the hard truth. And the hard truth can be the same thing for them saying things to me. Oh, you are, I don't know, ugly or whatever. And I mean, like, maybe I am ugly, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter about looks so much for men because you could be fat and wealthy and have a big house and drive a bunch of cars and have a big boat. And guess what? You're still going to get girls. So, sure, if I'm ugly, all right, cool. You have to be tolerant to these type of banters, especially in, I guess, my line of work when I have these different shows, because if I was always just nice and an angel and politically correct and was trying to make everyone happy and I was a people pleaser, I would probably lose my soul. But I know from working this for some time that I have a good balance of the yin and the yang, right? The good and the bad, the sugar and the sugar and the spice. Pain tolerance is necessary for me because if I don't have it, how am I going to cook? I know there was a video of Andrew Tate. He came out the other day and he had talked about the idea of if you want to be liked by people, where you're not selling your soul. You are going to be promoted. Everyone's going to say, hey, you need to go look at this person, etc. And then they're also going to be protecting you. But the moment you cannot be bought out and you cannot be controlled, that's when the attacks begin. And he basically went on to say that you can understand, you can see who they are attacking because they don't follow the rules and they cannot be controlled, versus the people who are controlled and they just kind of follow along because, hey, $55 million sounds like a lot of money, but is your soul worth that? And sometimes we are not paying attention. And it's the same thing with our physical and mental health and our training, where we have to learn how to integrate both our physical and our mental training to help equip us with what's going on in the world. Many people, when they're trying to enhance themselves, they do it in a way that is artificial. And I say artificial in the nicest terms, right? Artificial meaning they're doing things that are going to be makeshift from what they believe they should be doing. It's not true to their nature, because we can look at all the different aspects to how we can do physical activity. You can go walking, you could do yoga, you could do Tai Chi, you can do martial arts, you can do hiking, you can also go to the gym. There's different things to do at the gym: weightlifting, cardio, there's dancing, there's sports, basketball, soccer, everything, right? We can go down the list. There are so many things that you can do to be active. How many of those things are you doing to be active? Are you doing any of anything to be active? And then if you do something, ask yourself a question, right? You don't have to, tell a lie, because you don't have to tell anyone but yourself. Be honest with yourself. Or are you doing this thing because you want to appease someone else? Who knows? I don't know. I can't tell you your situation, but let's dive into both. Let's say you do it for yourself. The best of the scenarios, right? When I go to the gym, I do it because I like to look at myself and say, you know what? I look decent. All right. And when I look like a slob, I say, I look like and it's okay to look like a slob sometimes, because again, it's not about being perfect 24/7. It's about understanding that life is going to fluctuate and you have to move where you need to move. Let's look at the negative side. I'm doing it because of someone else. Well, now I have to do this and I hope they accept me. And I'm going to keep on working until I feel accepted. Because now I'm chasing after something that I have no control in. Yes, of course, you can look at the idea of wanting to be better as a person, and then maybe even going as far as you want to be better for another person. This thing, for example, let's say you're a parent. You might say, I want to be good for my kids. I want to be able to run after them. I want to be able to play with them outside, go on the trampoline, go down the slides, go into the trampoline park and, run after them in the foam pit. I mean, there's so many things that can happen with life, especially parenthood. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing it in a way that is only solely for them. You do it for you too, because intrinsically, if you combine it now, you want to have that memory saying that you did this. Maybe you have something inside of you. Maybe you had a parent that did it with you. So you're like, I want to do that again with my kid. I want to share that experience. Or maybe vice versa. I didn't have that as a kid and it's something that I yearn for. I want to make sure they have that experience. We can look at this, right? But there is a link between physical and mental, where we're doing something and it's helping with our mind. Sometimes we get so caught up in the mental aspect of things, where I have to go to work, I have to go to school, I have to make money, right? So our brain is thinking, or, like we're doing the things that we have to do in our day. The physical might be what we do along the way, and we might think that's enough, but it's not typically. Because if we look at jobs today, we have gone away from the labor type of jobs, right? We have machines that can do most of the work now. I think statistics show there's like 34% of jobs right now are managerial type of positions versus back, I think in the 70s, I think it was like 6 or 7%. So a huge upshift in how much we have gone from, being those workers that did a lot of work to now kind of just being people who control things. All right. We have to make sure this drop shipping is working right. Drop shipping, I'm sure you've heard of that, or, heard of that money making thing. And we can look at the different aspects of we have to just control things on YouTube, right? So we make our skits and our stuff, right? Virtual stuff, content creators, we have podcasting, etc. This is managerial stuff, right? Where we are just speaking, we're just doing the work, creating some content, blogs, books, etc. But it's not so much physical labor, right? I'm not like going out there and digging trenches. So, just depends on who you are as a person, because you might be a person that is doing everything that you're supposed to be doing. You're going to the gym, you're going to work, you're reading books, you're doing yoga, and your life is still a mess. Maybe you're in a relationship, you're going to the gym, you're doing everything you're supposed to, you're eating healthy, but the relationship is toxic or it's sour. Where is the discrepancy? It seems like if you do something good in your physical and you do everything good in your mental, you should have a perfect picture. But it's not so much of making your life perfect when it comes to the link between physical and mental. It's more of helping you understand that there is an aspect to how, if you incorporate more physical activity into your life, your mental is going to have some type of benefit. And the benefit, like I said, is going to be helping you understand that there are possibilities that are going to be for you. Many people, they have goals in life. If you can create a vehicle, and that's your body or your mind, if you can create that vehicle that's going to help get to where you need to go, don't you think that would be a good thing? If I wanted to be a lawyer, what type of mindset would I have to be a lawyer? Do you think I could be some pushover person that was always, non-combative, and I didn't argue my case and I was just passive? No, no, no. You have to be assertive to be a lawyer, right? Like they have to have that quality. And if you don't have it, what do? Right? Many people don't even realize, hey, if I want to do something, I have to go out and have to go get it. So the mental game is so big. How do you reinforce that tough mentality? Yeah, you have to push yourself. One of the things I love to do is like when you go on the treadmill or the Stairmaster, especially the Stairmaster, it's like your brain just starts yapping away and it's like, yap, 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 saying, I don't want to do this. You need to stop. You're going to have a heart attack. And sure enough, every single time I do it, I don't have a heart attack. My brain was lying to me. Who is the problem? Typically, I am the problem. So I say, you know what? If I want to make some adjustments in my life, I need to make sure my brain is not going to control what I want my body to do, because the brain is going to follow what you want to do, what your body is trying to do. For example, let's say you're trying to lift some weight at the gym or run a mile. It doesn't matter if you do cardio or like physical stuff. Your brain is going to naturally say something along this line, right? Of course, it doesn't say exactly this. This son of a bee or this person is crazy and they want to run a mile every single day. They want to lift 250 pounds on a bench. This is absurd. Okay. We can barely lift 100. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give them the determination. I'm going to equip them with, a healing body. So after they're done tearing their muscles and being sore, and it wasn't enough to turn them away, I'm going to make their body stronger. The body becomes stronger now. And now the link between your body getting stronger, your mind also says, well, we already went through this pain. We already went to the trouble of building ourselves up. Why in the world am I going to let this go? Or why in the world am I not going to continue to enhance myself? I know it's possible, so let me keep on going. And there is a wonderful link between that. And many people, they have a hard time figuring out if they need to be doing something. When we look at this article one last time, the links are going to be in the description box below. The link between the physical and mental training is here. Now, the conversation that we had today was just a general conversation that, of course, anyone can extrapolate and say, well, it makes sense. Now, here we go into some tips and some tricks in the article where we talk about what you should be doing and the importance of it. But I do want you to understand that even though these tips, like they seem straightforward, they are not. The reason is most people, their minds are a wreck. They have this mindset that is going to be fixated on what they want to see. I don't know if you remember in the beginning of this episode, I talked about how people would attack me, or they'll have their own topic, or they'll try to talk on a point where I'm talking about something and then they try to change it up. And I'm like, my point is not going to change. Can you not see? I'm not changing my point. You're trying to do this and that, and you're trying to make it seem like you're right. But the reality is you cannot change what the initial point was. What is your initial point? Where are you right now? And if you can't figure out, hey, I want to make some changes, if I want to figure out, I want to do some structural stuff in my life, you're going to keep on being there, and you're going to keep on feeling and being stuck. And that's not a good place to be. So if you're a person that is stuck and you're trying to enhance yourself and change your life, you just need to get up, get out. Now, I say that in a way that is flexible. Heck, you can go out to the park and just kind of be in nature. You can maybe go walking. And when you're walking, take a couple deeper breaths than you typically would. The physical activity and the mental is going to be linked. In our modern world, we are stuck behind a wall most of the time, right? We're just encompassed into a cubicle and a wall. Maybe you work in a cubicle and then you work in an office space and you're behind four walls and a floor and a ceiling, right? Most of the time. When's the last time you took your laptop and went outside? Now, I know there's people who will, of course, do this. They'll go to the coffee shop and they'll do these things, but not everyone does. If you are one of these people that are doing this already, then, kudos to you. Keep it up. But the reality is not enough people are doing this. Not enough people are incorporating physical into their day. It might be a lot of mental. They do a lot of studying. They go to college. They read a lot of books, maybe. They read blogs. They listen to podcasts. But what are you doing about it? How are you implementing a physical aspect to it? And maybe you do. And maybe it's enough. Maybe you have to make some changes. Maybe it's not enough. For example, let's say you're trying to lose a little bit of weight. You're going to the gym, you went on a diet, and the diet I'm using in quotation, you're just, maybe eating less, who knows? And you're not getting any results. Is it because you're not working out hard enough? Is it because you're still eating too much? I mean, it could be a mixture of the two. It could be one or the other. It could be something wrong with your body, right? A chemical imbalance. All of these things are there. But we do have to figure out what is for us. Because if going to the gym and only walking on the treadmill for an hour is not enough, what do? Most of the time, if you want to lose weight, I encourage you to go lift some weights, all right? Some dumbbells, some barbells, something heavy. You're going to have a better response. You're going to have more weight loss overall. This is not to say that you need to go lift weights. If you don't want to lift weights, don't do it, right? Figure out what's the best physical activity for you that's going to help your mind want to get stronger. And that's the key. Because if you do not want to get stronger, then you won't. You have to continually enhance yourself and continually make yourself stronger. Of course, keep on watching the podcast. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we have an episode. This can be a great mental for you, but you have to figure out what that physical is for you and then begin to implement in each and every part of your day.